Welcome back. Well, a campaign is launching today here on the First Coast focused on ending distracted driving. Florida is actually one of the few states in the nation still without an outright ban on texting behind the wheel. Attorney Wayne Hogan is here now with more about the Terrell Hogan End Distracted Driving campaign for the workforce. Wayne, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. And, of course, distracted driving can mean a lot of things, but in particular, it has to do with people fiddling around on their smartphones while they're driving. Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Beginning last spring, we went into the schools around Duval County to help students, those who are going to be driving, graduating, and getting out on the roadways. We wanted them to know about the hazards of this, and it began because of the death of a college student in Philadelphia, a lawyer that we know. His daughter was crossing at a crosswalk and was run down by a distracted driver. And that began a national effort to try to deal with this very troubling problem. It has drifted into our lives, and now distracted driving, you could say, is more prevalent than the flu.
Sure. And you've been reaching out to teenagers. Now you've expanded this campaign to the workplace. Why is that an important component of what you're trying to do?
Well, you can begin with the fact that OSHA itself, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, has declared distracted driving to be a workplace hazard. Mm-hmm. And we thought that if we're going to be dealing with the students, we also have a whole population of people who have kind of gotten into the habit of using these mobile devices in one way or another, and that's a danger on the roadways. It's 4 times more likely to have an accident. That's the same as drunk driving if you're on a cell phone, but it's up to 23 times more likely that a person will have an accident if they're texting or emailing.
Yeah, texting is so dangerous. And yet Florida's one of only a handful of states, I believe, that doesn't have a ban on this. Do you see that changing as this data gets more and more out into the mainstream? There
have been multiple efforts to pass legislation. So far they haven't gone through, but I heard one of the sponsors of the Senate legislation just the other day saying this year she expects that there's a great likelihood that they will get some part of the legislation through, probably dealing directly with texting. I'm not sure how far that legislation will go. These things take time. If you think about it, seat belts you used to have the question of lap belts,
right?
Then finally 3-point harnesses, and then finally legislation that required that people use their safety belts. These things take time. There are compromises that happen in legislation. But for the workforce and for employers, they need to be aware that they have potential liability for the actions of their employees if they're driving a company vehicle, if they are using a company-supplied cell phone, or even if they're in the course and scope of their employment, even if they're using their own personal vehicle and their own personal cell phone, but they're doing it on company business.
And you created a whole presentation that you're now going to be taking to employers and civic groups. Is that right?
We have. Various entities have done anti-distracted driving things, and that's a great thing that they've done it. Trauma One, Shands, right here, they see the results of these terrible accidents, and so a large number of people have banded together, even if loosely, to try to get the word out. And at Terrell Hogan, we thought that we would expand what we've been doing for students to the workplace and make that available to employers if they want us to provide this information and suggested or examples of policies that have been adopted by companies. At this point, nearly 1 in 5 Fortune 500 companies have adopted anti-distracted driving campaigns and policies within their offices.
And in a moment, we'll tell you how you can set this presentation up at your company. But for those who are skeptical and, people who just live on their devices, they think, well, I can talk on the phone while I'm driving. I can use the hands-free device. It doesn't really matter. I'm just as safe. What would you say to those who don't think this is a safety issue for them?
Well, the studies have been done. The National Safety Council has a substantial review of the studies that have been done that demonstrate that Yes, there's something about if you obviously using your hands. It's manual distraction if you start using it. The visual distraction if you're looking at it to check the number. But there's also what's called cognitive distraction or brain inattention, where the person's if a person is on the telephone in the car with, say, their sales manager and they're out for a sales call, well, they have to be paying attention to what that person is saying. When they're doing that, they are taking their mind off their number one job, which is driving that vehicle in such a way as to be safe, not cause an accident. Nothing troubles you more, it seems to me, when you're in a vehicle and you see that somebody coming up behind you is on a cell phone or maybe even texting. It really does worry you.
How do we convince companies to change their culture? People today feel they must be accessible at all times to their employer, even when they're driving.
The studies have been done, and the reports are that it does not reduce productivity. That's the worry, but the facts for those companies that have adopted these policies demonstrate that it's not. What it does is mean that people actually plan better. They prepare themselves. And if they need to take a call and they can foresee that, or they get a notice that they've received a call, they can pull over safely to the side of the road and avoid these terrible consequences that can happen for companies.
And so with all of that said, Terrell Hogan has developed a whole presentation for companies, civic groups. How can people take advantage of this and schedule you to come talk about it?
We have a speakers bureau set up within our website. And so they can go directly to the Terrell Hogan website. They can Google my name, Wayne Hogan, or they can call us at 722-2228.
Again, that website is terrellhogan.com. We're getting calls, actually, for Wayne about the distracted driving campaign. Actually, no, we're not? Okay. Well, we'll have to hang up then on this one, but hopefully you are not trying to call in from the road as Wayne talks. Again, it's the Terrell Hogan End Distracted Driving Campaign for the Workforce. Learn more on the website, terrellhogan.com, terrellhogan.com, or call 722-2228. Wayne Hogan, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Melissa.